AITA for not inviting my stepsister who bullied me to my wedding. My father remarried when I 25 female was 14. His wife Mary 49 female. And his stepdaughter Kyla 26 were H in my life. My father is wealthy, so we used to go to a fancy school. Kyla was very mean to me and I had a hard time to the point that I had to move to another school because I couldn't take it anymore. Once she convinced my father and Mary that I was pregnant. It was so embarrassing because I was still virgin, and yet, she and Mary convinced my father that I should do a pregnancy test. After it came negative, she told some of her friends at school, she was 1 year ahead of me, that I had an abortion. The bullying was nonstop. She would do anything to make my life miserable. Once she paid one guy at school to start a rumor that I did a BJ on him during class. When I was already going to another school, she told everybody at my old school that I left because I was caught stealing at the mall. And I was in a youth. My parents had split custody, so I used to spend 1 week with my father and 1 with my mom. After 2 years of hell, I told my father that I wouldn't stay at his place anymore and our relationship was reduced to 2 weekends a month. My relationship to my father was non-existent during college days. He would send me money and call me once every month, and that was it. I went to his house 1 or 2 times during my 5 years in college. I started dating my fiancé Louis 26 male 4 years ago, and I only introduced him to my father after more than 2 years of relationship. I am getting married this spring and we are going to marry at the beach in another country in Europe. Both of families are wealthy and we decided to offer the stay at the hotel to our guests, and they'll pay only their tickets. Because of that, we decided to settle on a small number of guests, around 80, and of course Kyla is not one of them. The wedding plan started 3 months ago and my father knew that I wasn't going to invite Kyla. However, he flipped out now and said that I need to invite her. I said that I am not going to invite a person that I don't have one single good memory to such a big day. We've been fighting about that since then. This last week he told me that I shouldn't count on his money if Kyla isn't invited, and my mom said fine, I'll pay for everything then. After that he said that he's not coming to the wedding without Kyla, and I replied fine. My grandma and aunt are trying to convince me to invite Kyla for the good sake of our family, but to be honest I am not even sure if we are a family. Am I the jerk for not inviting a person who bullied me for years for one of the biggest days in my life? Edit, I just want to say thank you to everyone. I had a hard time and I just left that behind because I wanted to move on and be happy, but with all of your comments I started crying because you're right. He never showed me love. It's so hard to admit that your father doesn't love you because that's what parents should do, right? They should love you. I can't answer everyone, so thank you for helping me. Edit 2, there's a lot of questions about how much everyone knows about the situation. My father was up to everything and he never took it seriously. My grandma stays in another country and I don't know how much she knew at the time, but she knows at some extent now. My aunt knows everything because her daughter is one of my best friends and my bridesmaid. As I pointed out, my family is quite wealthy and they care a lot about family and legacy, and those type of things that doesn't make any sense to me. However, it's very important for them. AITA for choosing my wife instead of my niece. I 25 male have a niece 6, I'm her godfather. She's the only kid in the family for now, so she's quite spoiled. Her birthday party was last Saturday. My sister said that my niece wanted a Disney-themed birthday in Kanto, so my sister asked me to dress up as one of the characters. This is something that we usually do for my niece, since she likes it and it's fun. I said yes like 3 weeks ago, so please have that in mind. My wife 25 is pregnant, she's 9 weeks along, but she's already having a lot of symptoms and she doesn't feel great. She has a lot of nausea, some smells get her very sick, and she's just feeling tired or moody since she's not getting a lot of sleep either. The day before the party she had been sick most of the night, so we didn't sleep well. The party was at 2 p.m. My wife actually told me to go to the party because she could stay alone. She was tired and feeling quite needy, but she was mostly fine. No nausea at the moment, she was able to eat something and was a bit more comfortable, but I felt terribly leaving her alone. So I decided to stay with her so we could cuddle and rest. I texted my sister to let her know that I'm not coming to the party at around 1:45 or so. Now, I know my sister, I know that she and our family would have called me and send me texts to try to get me to go, so my wife and I turned our phones off so we could have a peaceful nap. Just as I thought, hours later when I turned on my phone again I had tons of calls and missed texts. I read the texts and it seems like at some point my niece made a big tantrum because I wasn't there because I promised her to go as one of the characters of the movie and play with her and the kids. She refused to do anything and listen to her parents. So long story short, they had to end the party early. My whole family is absolutely blaming me for ruining the party. My sister said I'm the jerk because I promised her daughter to be there dressed up and then didn't show up. I remind her that I said yes 3 weeks ago, so a lot of stuff can change in those 3 weeks. I told them what my wife was going through and why I wanted to stay with her. They called me off and said that she, my wife, is somehow trying to get me away from them. They said that she's an adult and doesn't need to be pampered all the time. She could be a couple hours alone. I told them off for acting and talking like that about her, and said that I can do whatever I want with my time, and I told my sister that if she would have raised her daughter better then she wouldn't have made that scene. We had a big argument which ended in insults. Now almost everyone is on their side and not mine. Am I really wrong here? I feel like they're not trying to understand the reason why I didn't go to the party, like I'd rather have my wife feel great and go to the birthday party than this. They say that I'm acting selfish, but to me they're the selfish ones. Please give your opinions and I'll answer any questions if there's any. My wife told me to go to the party if I wanted, but she preferred me to stay since she wanted cuddles. She wasn't feeling very sick physically at the moment, but she mostly wanted emotional support. Please bear with me if I don't explain myself too well, we're Spanish. I can't answer all the comments, I'm sorry. My family knows that my wife is pregnant, for those who were wondering. My niece is 6 years old, not 16. I told them I wasn't going 15 minutes before because I was debating whether to go or not. My wife said to go, but she wanted me to stay since she needed emotional support. She's needy and emotional for now. I know that turning off the phone is rude, sorry, I'm just used to doing it since my family is too much sometimes and they can't take a no when I do something they don't like, so I wanted to prevent that or at least postpone it. Also, this was my niece's birthday party, but her actual birthday was another day. That's why I didn't mention telling her happy birthday or something like that. I greeted her on her birthday date, last Wednesday. AITA for walking away from my sister-in-law when she mentioned adoption again. My sister-in-law, who is my husband's younger sister, and I are both adopted. Sister-in-law was adopted as an infant. I was adopted through foster care at the age of 7 officially, but I found my family at the age of 6. Sister-in-law brought up us both being adopted before and asked questions that I didn't mind answering. She hadn't realized I was adopted through foster care, and for a little while she didn't think we could talk things through because we came from very different adoption stories. A couple of years ago, sister-in-law, mother-in-law, and father-in-law reached out to her birth family and made contact. Then they started to speak about the unfairness the adoption severed all legal ties to her birth family. And from there the three held this view that sister-in-law should have always been in the family, but adoption was not the right thing to do. At least not adoption as in the US standard of adoption. Once this realization was made, sister-in-law decided she needed to help open my eyes. My husband told her to leave me out of it and I would never feel different about my adoption. Sister-in-law didn't like that and she went behind my husband's back so we could talk it out. I told her she would never change my mind and I would always be glad I was adopted. I told her my only wish is to forget everything to do with my birth family. She told me I lost all connection to them. I told her that was good and I wanted no connection to those people. She told me I should be glad I know who I really am. I told her being a stain is not who I am. For people who will wonder, that is what I was called for the first 5 years of my life while I was with birth relatives, and this includes my birth mother. I told her knowing them does not mean I know who I am. I didn't even know my old legal name until I went into foster care. We took a time out from her for a while, but it meant missing out on family functions on his side, so we decided we would have minimal contact. My husband steps in when he's there too. But during a family wedding, sister-in-law took a moment I was alone to approach me and she started to bring up adoption, so I walked away without saying a word. I ignored her and acted like she was not there. This bothered her a lot. Mother-in-law and father-in-law told her she should maybe let up and leave me be. But she has really come after my husband, saying I was rude and had no right to walk away from her like that. A couple of extended family members, 2 old aunts of my husband, said sister-in-law was complaining so much that it spoiled the wedding and I should have handled the incident better. My husband said I did nothing wrong. But I hate the added drama from it. AITA.